Hello everyone, and welcome to this educational presentation of Can Candlestick Patterns Really Help You Become a More Consistent Trader? Well, in today's presentation, I'll actually show you how you can add to your consistency. Now, it's my opinion, after been in the markets for over 4 decades, how most traders love to trade with candlesticks, but how most traders are actually applying them incorrectly. And there's a whole host here, as you can see, of different candlestick patterns that you can apply to your trading. I'll show you what I feel is the correct way to apply them and how you can really increase your odds for consistency. So welcome today. This probably is going to be a great presentation because for the first time you're going to learn what the correct way is in which to apply candlesticks. My name is Steven Primo. I am the president and founder of Specialist Trading, and I teamed up with Pro Trader Strategies 9 years ago to simply do one thing: provide all of our students and members around the world with sound fundamental education so that they can make their own trading decisions based on things that have shown consistency in the past. Now, I've been trading for 41 years. I started my career on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. I was on the floor for 16 years, and 9 of those years I was a specialist. That's where we get the name Specialist Trading. A specialist was just someone who made markets in roughly about 50 or 60 stocks. So I made markets during the crash of '87 and the bull market that followed. So I've been involved in just about every environment, every system, every technique or method you can think of. I've already tried it and traded it. So I can shorten your learning curve by telling you what works in terms of consistency and what doesn't. So this is what we do at Specialist Trading. We have students in over 115 countries in every state in the United States, and we just teach them all the things I've accumulated that have shown high levels of consistency so that you can put yourself in the driver's seat and make your own trading decisions. So I'm going to show you just exactly how simple it is in today's presentation. But before we begin, as always, we're required by law to show you this, so please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to show you a lot of performance results today using these particular techniques, but please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. And please remember that all examples are strictly for educational purposes only. So as you're taking a brief moment to view our required disclaimer, I would also like to take this time to invite you, if you haven't done so already, to follow us on Twitter. There's our handle right there. You may want to copy that down, abbreviation for Specialist Trading. I post different information on a daily basis, anywhere from little bits of wisdom I've accumulated along the way to actual signals that our strategies have generated as of late. So lots of great free information. Feel free to follow us on Twitter. Now, as I stated in the very beginning statements of today's presentation, we're a little bit different from other webinars you may have attended in the fact that we are strictly an educational company. We don't want to sit here and tell you that we have the perfect system, and for $10,000, all you have to do is take it and it will spit out buy and sell orders, and you won't have to do anything or apply yourself because it will automatically make you a millionaire in 1 year. I'm sure if you've gone to webinars before, you've heard that before, and we just don't believe in that. And I've never found anything that matches that in my 41 years of trading, because what really matters is that you are part of the process, and the only way you can be part of the process, making your own decisions, is by accumulating sound fundamental knowledge and things that are consistent. So this is what my goal is: not to force feed you signals, not to force feed you the perfect market or time frame. On a daily basis, I get emails from people saying, "Steve, what's the perfect time frame? What time frame do you trade?" or "What's the perfect market?" These are things you have to decide. Everyone brings different things to the table. Everyone brings different risk requirements and different personality traits to trading. So there's no one perfect way to trade. So if there is no one perfect way to trade, the basis is that you have to decide for yourself, and the way you can do that is if you're trained and educated properly. So this is our goal: to teach you, not to trade for you, but to teach you how to trade with the Specialist Edge. This is the same edge that turned my trading around some 4 decades ago. Hopefully, it will be able to do the same for you. Now, since this is going to be a class, if you're new to my presentations, you know I like to take the questions at the very end of the class. That way we don't have to break up the webinar and stop for every slide for a question. So if you do have a question, kindly wait till the last 10 minutes of the presentation. This won't last long, maybe a half an hour, and then we'll reserve the rest of the time for questions, okay? The only question I will answer is the most common, and that is this being recorded? Yes, it is. So if you have to leave early, or if you're having technical difficulties, many times it's your internet connection. So if you just log off and then log back on again, it'll be corrected. But if it isn't, don't worry. We will send each and every one of you a link to this recording, okay? So once again, if you happen to join us late, we have a good crowd here today. Please wait till the end of class to ask any questions. All right, so let's begin. Now, here are the requirements for this method. And they're going to be a little bit different from what you usually see because most people, the things you've relied on in the past, you've seen that they don't really work. Let me share with you how my mentors taught me. The first requirement is you need to listen to the market. Okay. The second requirement is apply structure. Now, what exactly does that mean? How do I listen to the market? How do I apply structure? Remember, we've never been taught these things before. We've always been taught just upload this system and it will automatically spit out buy and sell orders, taking us out of the process. But today I'm going to teach you how to actually listen to the market and then apply structure. When I say listen to the market, we want to find out what the market wants to do. In other words, we want to find out what the trend is. So we listen to the market in order to find the trend because we want to go in the direction of the market. If the market is like a river, I've often used this analogy before. If the market is like a river, why would you want to swim upstream? What you want to do is swim with the current at your back. So that's what listening to the market means, finding out what the trend is. And in my 41 years of trading, we find the trend the best way with the PET-D. The PET-D is a short-term directional tool that we have only at Specialist Trading and Pro Trader Strategies. It's something I learned on the floor some 41 years ago. And in my 4 decades of trading, it is the best thing I know for finding the short-term directional trend. And let me show you how we apply it. Now, someone looking at this example here would say, well, okay, we're in an uptrend, so I guess I buy, right? And then the minute you step in, this is what usually happens. Well, when we apply the PET-D, we have made it into an algorithm so that it is now a short-term color bar tool. So if you see a series of green bars, that's telling you you're in an uptrend. A series of red bars tells you you're in a downtrend. So now look how simple it is to discern what the trend was. So rather than figuring out that you're in an uptrend somewhere up here at these levels, you could have found out that you were in an uptrend down here. And rather than wait to get out all the way down here, you could have, after 2 to 5 bars, found out that you were in a downtrend with the bars coloring red now and gotten out before you lost a lot of money. So this is the beauty of the PET-D. It tells you the short-term trend, and it's as simple as clicking on our new platform, the PTS Primo charting platform, right here, clicking on PET-D, and the colors automatically change for you. All right, so we know the trend. Now we have to apply structure. In other words, if we know which direction the river is going, if we know how strong the current is a strong current, is it shallow, is it just kind of moving like a pond, or is it moving very strong? Now we have to apply structure or in the form of a boat. So let's say, do we want to use an inner tube? Do we want to use a raft? Do we want to have a boat on the river? It's the same thing with structure for trading. How are we going to apply structure to the trend? How are we going to trade it? Well, this is where structure comes in order to enter the trend. And we can use it in the form of candlestick patterns, all right? Candlestick patterns will be our vessel in order to trade. Now, there are a number of candlestick patterns, and what you can do today is, as long as you're in sync with the trend, these candlestick patterns will have a higher level of consistency. But we're going to focus mainly on engulfing patterns, all right? They're the simplest and the easiest to identify. Most people know what they are. So even though this method I'm going to share with you can work with all of the candlestick patterns, let's use the simplest one. Now remember, candlestick patterns are always taught in traditional wisdom to look for tops or bottoms, all right? When we see a doji at the top of an uptrend, we usually say, well, that means that it's a reversal pattern, or a bearish engulfing pattern at the top of a trend means that's a reversal pattern. Or if we see a bullish engulfing pattern at the bottom of a downtrend, that means it's a reversal and we're going to go back up. But here's what I've learned in my 4 decades of trading. Candlestick patterns have a higher level of consistency if you trade them in sync with the trend. You see, we've always been taught to use them out of sync with the trend as reversal patterns to tell us when a trend is about to change. But that's a recipe for disaster, because even though they may work every once in a while, over time they don't, and you'll give everything back. So what you want to do is find these patterns that are in sync with the trend. If you see a bullish pattern, a bullish candlestick pattern, make sure that the PET-D is coloring that pattern green. The same thing if you see a bearish candlestick pattern, make sure that the candlestick is being colored red. That means you are in sync with the short-term trend. So here's what we're going to be teaching you today. Let's just apply it to one candlestick pattern, and we're going to be looking at bullish engulfing patterns. And here's how simple it is. Only buy if the engulfing bar, bar number 2, is colored green. That's it. You don't have to look for what the earnings are going to be. You don't have to see what the institutions or where support and resistance is. If you find an engulfing pattern, all you need to do is see that bar number 2 is green. It doesn't get any simpler than that. So here's our engulfing pattern. It's a 2-bar pattern. Bar number 1 is usually down. Bar number 2 is up. And the range from open to close of bar number 2 engulfs the range of bar number 1. That's why they call it an engulfing pattern. All right? Now, we don't want to make sure that this is the top of a trend or the bottom of a trend. We don't care. All we care about is that once we apply the pet D, bar number 2 is colored green. As you can see, bar number 1 is green. That's fine, but we don't really care about that. All we care about is that bar number 2 is colored green. And so it was an up day, as you can see by the white hollow body, but the outline was green, colored by the pet D. So this is a very high, consistent, bullish pattern. Now, conversely, if we're trading bearish engulfing patterns, it doesn't matter where we find it, at the top or bottom of a trend, we don't care. We don't care what the earnings are. We don't care what some news came out. It makes no difference. We're only going to sell if the engulfing bar or bar number 2 is colored red. So this is also a 2-bar pattern. Bar number 1 is usually up. Bar number 2 is down. Okay? So bar number 1's open to close range engulfs bar number 2's open to close range, as you can see. All we want to see is that bar number 2 is colored red. Now, as you can see here, bar number 1 is green once we apply the pet D. That's okay. It makes no difference. But bar number 2 is red, and that's all that matters. And so this is a very bearish pattern. So when we combine these two techniques, we created the candlestick combo. This is one of our most consistent candlestick features we have at Specialist Trading and Pro Trader Strategies, because you're combining a short-term trend identifier in the pet D with highly consistent candlestick patterns. So now we've really increased our odds for consistency. That's why we call it our candlestick combo. Let me show you what I mean here by showing you some recent examples. All right, now we're going to emphasize mainly stocks, but later on in the presentation I'll show you some entirely different markets as well. Okay, and remember, if you happen to join us late, if you have a question, kindly wait till the end of today's class to ask. I promise I'll get to each and every one of them then. Okay, let's start out with Apple. Okay, now this was a recent example going back to the 15th of August, just a couple of weeks ago. Someone looking at this who, let's say, hasn't attended my classes before or isn't aware of how I teach, is using standard conventional ways of trading, will say, well, Steve, there's no way to tell what the market wants to do. You say listen to the market. I don't really understand what that means, okay? If I'm listening to the chart here, the chart is basically going sideways. And we have some major resistance right there. The institutions are all selling. And I know that for a fact because I track the institutions with this special class I took that cost $10,000, and it really, is supposed to work. And on top of that, the earnings are supposed to come out. It's supposed to be really bad. And on top of that, this guy I follow in a chat room doesn't like the stock. So I really have no interest in going long Apple. I'm just going to kind of stay away from it. All right, you see how every decision I made was based off what someone or something else was telling me. This is how we're taught as traders. We're taught to make our decisions based off some trading guru who knows what he's doing, some institutions that know what they're doing, some indicator, or some news event, right? Now, if that works so well, these are the same things I was taught 40 years ago. If they work so well, then why do the majority of traders fail? Because there's no consistency in those methods. So why not do what my mentors taught me some 41 years ago? Listen to the market. So how do we listen to the market? We apply the PET D. And on our platform, it's as simple as clicking on the PTS PET D tab right here, and the colors automatically change. So as we can see now, the colors are either green outline or green body. And tell me, what is the market telling you? Even though it's been going sideways for the last 6 or 7 bars, what is the market telling us? It's telling us that the short-term trend is up. So remember, do we want to swim upstream? Absolutely not. We want to swim with the current at our back. So we're looking to go long. We're not caring about if there's major institutions selling this. We don't care. They have no higher levels of consistency than anything else. So why would we dare follow them? It's silly. So what we're looking at now is to apply some structure. And what was the structure we were talking about? bullish engulfing patterns, right? Here we have a bullish engulfing pattern. Now both bars are green. All we care is that bar number 2 is green. And it's outlined green. So that's our signal that this is a very bullish pattern. Now you can enter if you want. We're not going to tell you all. We can't give away all the entries and all the exits and all the stop placement. But if you had entered, well, that would have been a quick 20 points in the next couple of days. So you see how this works. It's so simple. You're listening to the market, and then you're applying structure in the form of a candlestick pattern. Let's look at another example here in WIN. We're only going to look at 5 bars because that's really all you need to look at, 3 to 5 bars. All right, someone looking at this will say, okay, Steve, well, I see what you mean now. All right, we want to find the trend. All right, well, the trend is up. We're going higher. The last 4 or 5 bars have been up. Only the last bar is down, but that's okay. We're in an uptrend. So I want to buy this. This is kind of like a little pullback, and so I should be buying this, right? What is the market telling us? Not what am I telling you to do. What is the market telling you? We apply the PET D. We simply click on the PET D tab, and automatically the colors will change. Whoops, as you can see here, they change to red. Every bar has been red. Even though we've been rising, every bar is red. So what's that telling us? Even though we were rising higher, the market's in a short-term downtrend. So this is just some type of a rise, a slow pullback in a downtrend. So you don't want to be buying. You want to be looking for a selling opportunity with some structure. And now here is our structure, our bearish engulfing pattern right there. And bar number 2 is colored red. So that is the market, not me, not some institution, not some indicator. That's the market telling you it wants to go lower. It's a very high probability setup telling you it wants to go lower. As you can see, WIN went from 152 all the way down to roughly 100 in the 130s in the next week. So this is how simple the process is. You see how easy it is to apply because you can just simply put on the PET D, click on the PET D, and then look for candlestick patterns that will match that going in that direction. Let me show you some more examples. Here's HBQ. Okay, once again, looks like nothing is happening here. Now remember, I said in the very beginning of the presentation, we want to increase your odds for consistency. So what does consistency mean? Does that mean you never lose? No, consistency means actually that you will lose, but that you will have a method or a plan that's able to have a 2-step forward, 1-step back process. So that every time you lose, you still feel confident with your method because you know eventually you'll make it back because it's a 2-step forward, 1-step back approach. So let's apply the PET D. And we see that we have different colors here, but we have a setup. In the beginning of this, we have a bullish engulfing pattern. Bar number 2 is green. All right. So that goes up on the next bar. If you were quick and wanted to take a quick profit like that, I guess you could, but that wouldn't have made much sense. It would have been very small. And then all of a sudden you're met with a bearish engulfing pattern. All right. So at this point, now you're saying to yourself, okay, well, I got stopped out. I guess I'll switch in reverse. So you switch in reverse, and it goes down for 3 days, and now you're met with another bullish engulfing pattern. So you have 2 small losses under your belt. And at this point, you're saying, boy, I don't know if I want to take another trade here because I might have another loss. Well, the beauty of this is that many times you're able to recoup those losses. Not guaranteed, but many times you are because of the consistency. So we're met with another bullish engulfing pattern here. And then look what happened. It eventually went up. So you could have made back what you lost and even more had you decided to stay in the trade that long. Eventually, it's up to you how you decide to trade, though. Let's show you another example here in Goldman Sachs. GS, someone looking at this would say, well, okay, looks like we're kind of just going sideways. I see 2 bearish engulfing patterns. Here's a bearish engulfing pattern, and here's another one. Which one do I take? Well, let's add the PET D. The first one was not colored red. Remember, bar number 2 needs to be colored red. So you would not have taken that trade. But the second one was. All right. Now, even though you would have had a better entry on the first bearish engulfing pattern, that's okay. We're not interested in selling at the top or buying at the bottom. We're interested in highly consistent setups. And so we're willing to wait one setup in order to be in a setup that will ultimately go in our direction. So that's what we're more interested in. Okay. The minute we get into a trade, we don't have to wait around for a long time. It goes in our direction and is colored red by the PET D. Let's look at another setup now. That was earlier in the year. Let's look at something that happened just last month in July. as we can see here, now we have 5 bars and we're met with a bullish engulfing pattern that is green. So where that example was to the downside a couple of months earlier, last month, this one was to the upside. And this one had a very nice profit coming from 231 all the way up to 240, a good 9 points in roughly about a week or so. QEP, all right, originally all the bars were being colored green by the PET-D, but then we switched to red. So what's the market telling us? The market's telling us that it changed its mind. It no longer wants to be in an uptrend. Now the stream is headed in a different direction and the current is going lower. So now we are headed lower. And what do we have here in terms of structure? We have a bearish engulfing pattern. So if you want to, you can take this to the downside. You can either buy puts. It's up to you. This is an inexpensive stock, so it doesn't really matter. But look what happened. You see, we went from roughly 12 all the way down to in the 9s, okay? Roughly 2.5 to 3 points. That's a large percentage drop on an inexpensive stock. How about FAST? All right, it looks like this is kind of a whipsaw area. We have up, down, green, red, but we're met with, remember, we don't care as long as we find a candlestick pattern that meets our criteria. Now here we have a bullish engulfing pattern, and bar number 2 is green. So that's all we need. We don't have to care about whether we're in a so-called uptrend, a so-called downtrend. The PET-D is telling us that this is a high confirmation setup, and look what happened. Stock went up from roughly 58 to 61. NOC was heading up very nicely. All the bars were green until we were met with its first red bar, all right? And it so happened it's a bearish engulfing pattern. So this is the market telling you that most likely we're topping out. It's time to get out of this stock. And if you're long, maybe you want to sell or maybe move your stops up. If you're thinking about going short, this is a high probability setup because the stock quickly fell from 317 all the way down to the 200s. Now this can be applied to expensive stocks as well. Remember, we do not tell you how to trade. We're just giving you high probability setups. If you want to buy the stock, you can do that. If you want to buy a call, you can do that. You want to buy an option, it's entirely up to you. Remember, we're not here to tell you how to trade. We're simply teaching you what to look for. Then it's up to you to decide how you want to enter. Now, right here we have, originally Google was green, but then went into a short-term downtrend. Ultimately, we have the first green bar in July, and it's a bullish engulfing pattern. So that's all we need to know to find out that the market is generating a high probability setup to go up. That's all you need to know. And as we can see, it went up coming into August here. This can also be applied to very inexpensive stocks. That was a $1,200 stock. Let's look at a $5 stock, okay? We have a bullish engulfing pattern. Bar number 2 is colored green. The exact same setup you saw on a $1,200 stock can happen on a $5 stock. And look what happens. The stock took off, went up roughly about half a point. But that's a large percentage point, roughly about 20% in 2 days. If we look at BBBY, we see here that nothing much is happening, but we have our bearish engulfing pattern right here. Bar number 2 is colored red, and the stock falls out of bed. Now, ultimately, some news came out or something where the stock dropped down lower, all right? Probably some fundamental news, but how did we know it was going to go lower? Because the market told us right here. Remember we said, the first thing you have to do is learn how to listen to the market. Now, we can apply this to ETFs. Here's a weekly chart of the spiders. The market has continued to go up higher and higher and make new highs. Here's a weekly chart going back to the beginning of July, just about 2 months ago, all right? Now here we have kind of an up and down market. We apply the PET-D and we see here that most of the bars are green. We have one red bar and then followed by another green bar. And guess what? This is a bullish engulfing pattern. So let's say we didn't necessarily want to trade the spiders on a weekly time frame. We could apply this as a market trending tool. So if the spiders are generating a buy setup, most likely the market's going to follow, right? So if this ETF represents the S&P 500 index, don't you think the market would go higher? So this was telling us as far back as 2 months ago that we were going to continue to go higher. And as we've all seen coming into August here, the end of August, the market has continued to go higher and higher. Now, most people say, boy, I had no idea this market was going to go up like this. Well, The market told you what it wanted to do. The point is, we've never learned how to listen to the market. All we do is listen to what somebody or some indicator or somebody is telling us. But if you learn how to listen to the market, most likely you're able to find these high probability setups. Now we can look at Facebook. Now we know that Facebook had a large fall, and then it bounced a little bit, but according to the PET D, that was just a bounce in an overall downtrend, because we have a bearish engulfing pattern right here, which is on the 9th of August. Bar number 2 is colored red, and we saw Facebook go lower. So a lot of people are always saying, well, Steve, I love your teaching, I love the things you tell us about, but I'm always scared of news events, because whenever a news event comes out, it seems to override anything you've taught. I'm not sure if it'll work in the face of news. Well, we're not here to tell you that this works 100% of the time, but it has high probability in terms of working. And many times the market, not guaranteed, but many times the market will tell you in advance what it wants to do prior to a news event. I've seen this in my own experience of trading. So though not guaranteed, it's been my experience that this will happen so many times in advance of a news event. Let me show you what I mean here. A couple of months ago, Yahoo Finance reported that Starbucks shares fall in overnight trading. It was announced that a forecast of slower than expected sales growth and plans to close about 150 cafes next fiscal year to boost performance, sending its shares down 5% after hours in Starbucks. So, excuse me, this is when the news came out right here. Unfortunately, the majority of traders look at this as listening to the market. They say, well, excuse me, I listened to the news, and boy, that's really negative. So I want to get out of this, or I want to look to short it. But that's usually a little bit too late. If we had applied the PET D, we would have first seen that there was a bearish engulfing pattern right here, and then we applied the PET D and seen that actually bar number 2 was colored red. So the market was giving us a signal well in advance of that news event. So the stock dropped 22% in 1 week. You would have been that much ahead of the game. So though not guaranteed, oftentimes you will see that the market tells you what it wants to do in advance of a news event. So I want you to ask yourself before we go into question and answers, do you think this method could have helped your trading this past year? Now that you look at your candlestick trading, have you been doing it all wrong? Have you been trying to pick tops and bottoms with candlesticks, using them in the traditional form, which really has no consistency? Maybe if you simply traded them in sync with the trend, you would really increase your odds for consistency. Here are certain points to remember, though, before we leave. Remember, this is not a complete strategy. What I just shared with you is not a strategy in and of itself. It's just a couple of pieces of the puzzle, because we didn't talk about advanced entry signals. I really didn't even say where you would enter. Would you enter at the market once the bearish engulfing pattern ended? Would you place a limit? Would you wait for confirmation? Or we didn't talk about stop placement. Where would be the most opportune place to protect your trade? And how would you continue to manage it all the way up? And we didn't even talk about where you get out. Some of these trades went on for days, weeks, and months. How long would you stay in the trade? Where would you know how to get out? And then lastly, and most importantly, we didn't even talk about money management. How many shares, how many options would you be trading? Okay, what size account should you have? These are all extremely, extremely important pieces of the puzzle that go into the making of our candlestick combo. But we didn't talk about any of them. So I don't want you to think that I just shared a strategy with you, a complete trading plan. Not at all. I gave you maybe 2 pieces of the puzzle, and that's about it. But you still need all of these things in order to have a complete plan. So I want to offer you a great special today, a great discount as well, just for the fact that you attended my presentation. We're going to offer you our candlestick combo. This is our candlestick combo special, strategy number 5, along with our very popular and powerful PET D tool. You're going to get instant course access, detailed instruction, 20 videos. We're going to explain all the entries, all the exits, all the stops, all the money management. You're also going to get the add-ons for both of these and mentoring correspondence. But let me share with you what's more important. We're going to give you a great discount of $14.95 plus $97 per month. But this is for a limited time only. So one discounted fee of $14.95 and then $97 per month. Now, if you want to lease the entire thing, just a one-time fee, you can purchase both for $29.95. That's up to you. And there are payment plans along with that as well. And we're also going to throw in 6 months of the PTS Primo charts, where it makes everything so easy, for $5.90. Wait a minute. No, we're not going to charge you $5.90. We're going to throw that in completely free. You're going to get 6 months of our platform, where all you have to do is click on strategy number 5, click on Pet D, and it automatically will show you these setups. Let me show you what else is included in the PTS Primo charting platform. Obviously, you're getting strategy 5 and the Pet D directional tool. We're going to throw in our proprietary buy-sell line. This comes with 4 separate features for determining the overall trend. Remember, the Pet D determined the short-term trend. Now you're going to know the overall trend. Our top bottom 25% price bars, that's going to show you the bars that closed in the top or bottom of the range, which also determines our short-term trend. This also comes with over 90 of the most basic and popular technical indicators. We're throwing in Bloomberg TV. It's a live window that will show you live news events and earnings and announcements as they are happening live on free Bloomberg TV, and personalized tech support, so we can answer any issue that you may have. Now, we're also throwing in a bonus. This is probably the best thing about the PTS Primo charting platform. We're going to include our scanner. Let me show you how simple it is. Let's say you're not able to be in front of your chart all day, but you want to know what the next day's candlestick combo setups are for, let's say, the S&P or the NASDAQ or the Dow, okay? Or let's say you trade currency pairs, because you can apply this to currency pair markets. You can apply it to futures. It makes no difference. Here's how simple it is. On the platform, it says strategy number 5. You simply click that on and you'll see a drop-down menu. Click on Scan. This window will appear. You click on what you're interested in, Pet D and strategy 5. You load the symbols and it will automatically spit out setups. For example, this was just a month or so ago, and SHAK, S-H-A-K, a buy signal was generated using strategy number 5. Once you apply the Pet D, well, guess what? It's confirmed. Strategy number 5 and the Pet D. So now you have a valid candlestick combo setup, and the stock gained 16 points in 1 week, okay? Now you can also scan other markets. Let's say you don't want to just trade stocks, you like to trade other markets. Well, you could have scanned for this setup in the Canadian dollar. As you see here, you click on the Pet D, the bar is totally, the last 3 bars or 4 bars are totally green. Strategy 5 generated 2 buy setups here, and the currency pair went up 350 pips in just the next 2 weeks. Or you could have seen this on a 4-hour time frame, because you can scan for intraday trading as well. Here was a strategy number 5 candlestick combo sell in the dollar yen on a 4-hour chart. It quickly fell 100 pips in the next couple of days. How about the E-mini? Here's a 10-minute chart of the E-mini, okay? The Pet D colors the bars. Majority of them are now red. There's a candlestick combo sell signal right here, strategy number 5, and 20 points to the downside, or $1,000 per unit. Now remember, you could choose where you wanted to exit. You could exit with a 1-point gain. It's up to you, but you potentially could have captured 20 points. And if we look at an hourly chart here, do you think the candlestick combo could have helped you with all these buy signals? Okay? So trust me when I say a year from today, you will have wished you became a member of this course. There are so many setups being generated all the times, in all time frames, in all markets, and in all directions. So here is our, once again, our offer for you. It's our attendee discount, $14.95 plus $97 per month, plus 6 months free of the PTS Primo charting platform. Here's how to take advantage of this great offer, okay? Contact my sister site, which is Pro Trader Strategies. You can email them directly at trading@protraderstrategies.com for any more questions, or I would suggest probably calling them directly at 310-598-6677 if you want to set up a payment plan or get that discount of a $14.95 one-time fee with $97. You could have that right away, okay? Now that link you see at the very bottom will take you to the info page. You can sign up on that page as well. That's not a live link. Excuse me, you have to copy and paste that onto your browser. But we've posted a live link on your chat box. So all you have to do is open up your chat box there in the far right-hand corner, and you'll see a live link that has been posted, okay? So I'm going to leave this up here and answer any questions that you may have. And I want to thank you all for waiting. I promised you I would answer questions at the very end. And here we are at the very end. And not that many questions, but I'll give you a few minutes to ask. A lot of people are asking, well, what is the offer with the PTS Primo charting platform? Can I just use my own platform? Yes, you can actually use. We will give you the keys for using the strategy number 5 signals as well as the PET-D on your platform, but it's so much easier on our PTS Primo charting platform. You know, our strategies work on just about all the major platforms such as TradeStation, NinjaTrader, Thinkorswim, Sierra Charts, Metastock, MT4, but we made the platform simple so that you don't have to go through the process of making sure that it works correctly on a different platform. It's just one click away, and you're going to get it free for 6 months anyway, so we think that's the best way to go. Question, Steve, would you take the trade if the bullish engulfing pattern is below the buy-sell line? That's the 50-period moving average. Well, first of all, remember, it doesn't matter what I would do. It's up to you to decide. What this person is asking is that the buy-sell line is simply the overall trend. Remember I said that's the way to determine the overall trend. Now, it's entirely up to you because we have some traders who swear by just using the PET-D. They say, I just want to trade this for the short-term trend, and so I don't need to apply the buy-sell line. We always instruct our beginning traders to apply the buy-sell line, which is the overall trend, in sync with the short-term trend, because that way you'll have added consistency. So to answer that question, Mercy, remember, that's your decision, not mine. We give you the information and the tools, but ultimately you've got to decide, and the best way to decide that is through paper trading. So before you decide to do anything, always paper trade. Apply both with the buy-sell line and one without the buy-sell line, only the PET-D, and then see what works best for you. Remember, I'm here to teach you how to trade, but not to trade for you. That's why I said in the very beginning of the presentation, we're a little bit different from other webinars you may have seen in that we're not going to tell you what the perfect time frame is, what the perfect way how to trade is. We don't believe in that. In fact, in my opinion, that's a recipe for disaster. What we're here to do is teach you and give you all these important components and then work with you so that you can decide what works best for you, okay? Yeah, so of course the second bar is green using the PET-D, correct. I see them a lot, but I don't take the trade because they're below the buy-sell line. Remember, it's entirely up to you. We have a number of students who only use the PET-D. In fact, you know, some of them swear by the PET-D and say, I don't need the buy-sell line, where others swear by using both of them. They feel more confident and they have a better setup. So it's entirely up to you. Our only recommendation is that you paper trade first to see what works best for you, okay? That's a good question. Any more questions? Remember, the link you see below is not live. You'd have to copy and paste that, but if you go on the chat box, you will see that there is a live link posted for you on the chat box. So you just simply have to click that on. Now, before we close here, I just want to know we've only got, what do we have here, about 4 more months left in the year? Or not even that, actually. Yeah, just about 4 more months. I thought we were already in September, just a couple of more days before that. So ask yourself, are you anywhere near where you wanted to be at the beginning of the year? If you're not, and if you're really frustrated, these things we taught you today can really help. And so we always want to leave you with something that works for you, so that you can at least leave the presentation with a little knowledge and that knowing that you came and you learned something. But if you really want to get the full knowledge, what's behind all this, you have to, become a member of our Candlestick Combo class and become a student of mine, and we can teach you all these things so that you can really be in sync with the market and then know how to properly apply structure. So ask yourself, if you're not where you were, or where you wanted to be a year from ago, and where you want to be a year from now, just ask yourself, you owe this to yourself to really become a student of mine and become a member of this course. So take the time, call up Pro Trader Strategies. There's no obligation. You can speak to one of their trading consultants, and they'd be happy to answer any question you have about a payment plan or about the discounts or about the PTS Primo charting platform, and then decide for yourself. But remember, this offer is only going to be for a short time before we move on to something else, okay? Another course, another class, and another discount. As we close here, I just want to say thank you for joining us today. I hope you got something out of today's class. I hope you learned something about candlestick trading, how these candlestick patterns can really, help you become a more consistent trader if you learn how to trade them correctly. the best way I know of how to do that is actually with the candlestick combo that we offer. So thank you so much for attending today. I wish you the best of luck, and I look forward to all of you becoming students of mine at Specialist Trading. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.